Hey guys, what's going on? It is Kevin here, and welcome back to the channel. In today's clip, we're reacting to a video from Dave Ramsey where a caller mentioned that he has $3.5 million saved up for retirement, but he is scared to retire. So not only are we going to react to this clip, we're going to actually model it out in our financial planning software and help answer some of his questions. Let's go.
I'm 62 years old, and I've been trying to think about retirement. The things that are holding me back are, health insurance is one thing, and also the fact that no money will be coming in, but all money will be going out. And I'm having a hard time getting comfortable with that. And what I really want is somebody to tell me that I can stop.
hmm What do you mean no money will be coming in? You mean you won't be earning an income?
That's right.
Okay. And so do you have a pension? Do you have a 401k nest egg?
Yeah. I've got 401ks and IRAs and all that stuff.
Okay.
Um,
No
that's
pension.
no pension.
How much is
Okay.
in all those accounts?
3.5 million.
Okay. All right. Well, if no money's coming in, it's just because you're not taking any of it, is all. Okay. Because let's just be, what do you make a year?
175.
Okay. Way to go, man. I'm proud of you.
Well done, Steve.
I assume you started with nothing and became a multimillionaire.
Yep.
I'm very proud of you.
Yep.
That's
All
amazing.
me.
American dream is not dead. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, meet Steve. So now, so you understand that 3.5 invested in good growth stock mutual funds, if it averaged 10%, would be 350K
Yeah.
income that it
Uh,
produces without touching the nest egg.
Okay, so this is true in the sense that the S&P 500 has returned, say, around 10% annualized, right? The problem is in retirement planning, we don't use a perfect 10% linear, projected return because that's not how the stock market actually, works. It's not a perfect 10% return every year. Some years you're down 20%, some years you're up 25%. So Steve here is kind of wondering, what do I do maybe in those down years? And that's probably where his question is going to lead. But we definitely should not be saying that, you for sure could be spending, several $100,000 in retirement because we think that the stock market behaves differently than we know it actually does.
right.
Which is twice what
Yeah.
you make now.
Right. Uh, I guess that there's some years it's going to be up, some years it's going to be down. What do I do in the down years?
Use some of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the down years very seldom are below 5%. Find a time
Okay.
that the stock market made under 5%. The number of times in the last 30 years, hardly ever.
Okay, so that is just not correct. If he's talking about on a annualized return basis, I mean, there's been plenty of years where the market has been negative, especially below 5%. Often, obviously, it's not as often as it's up, which is the whole point of investing in the stock market, but it's not seldom in the last 30 years that the market is not down less than 5%. It's definitely been down plenty of times, and that's something you have to consider when you're about to retire because of sequence of returns risk. And I think that's where Steve is most worried about here. And well, that's what we're going to mostly work on in the financial planning software is that question and how much he could actually spend. But Dave is a little a little incorrect there, or he's just blatantly wrong, really.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Like maybe 2. And so you use a little bit of the 3.5 maybe, but maybe don't take the whole 350 off. Maybe take 200
Right.
off and let it grow by 150 to cover the down years.
So not a horrible idea, maybe a flexible spending, discretionary spending. That way you're not just fixed on having a certain amount being spent each year. Reducing how much you spend basically in the down years is a pretty good idea. There's also, the cash bucket strategies, things like that as well. And yeah, it's an interesting thing though, because Steve, in the bigger picture here, Steve has been a great accumulator, and now he's more or less having a hard time, emotionally, mentally, with becoming, distributing those assets. So that's a hard transition for a lot of, pre-retirees and retirees to make, is that transition from accumulator to a distributor. It is a big, big shift.
Right.
Steve,
But
do you
you're
guys?
not. It's impossible unless you lose your mind and join Congress for you to go through this money before you die.
Okay.
Is your house paid off and everything, Steve? Any debt?
Yeah, no debt.
Okay.
House paid.
Okay. How long you been married?
I'm not married.
Okay. What is it you want to do with the rest of your life?
I've still got to figure that out. I would like to travel some. Life events, somewhat recent life events have made me realize that what I should be doing, or what I feel like I should be doing, is spending time with people that I love.
Yep.
And people that love me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole, pushing paper around is not a good use of my time anymore.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an attorney.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Do you have family, Steve, around?
Yeah. I've got a brother and sister.
Okay. That's great.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you two things. One is, yes, you're in excellent financial condition. You've done a wonderful job, and you're able to retire. And if you pulled off 200 and let it grow by 150 a year, this would run in perpetuation. And I don't know who you're going to leave the 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 3.0, 4 million, 4.5 million, because it's going to keep growing. Okay, because you're not going to use it all. So who are you going to leave all that to? This is a no-brainer equation. You're easily able to quit. Then I will also tell you, because I'm your age, I'm 65, I'm a little older, and that you have friends and I have friends who retirement wasn't good to them emotionally.
Right.
They didn't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, so I like what Dave is saying there. Outside of the math he just mentioned, on the more like emotional side of things about what this gentleman should do with his time, I think that's where Dave definitely shines a lot more. And again, I don't think the question is can he retire or not. He can retire. The better question is how much can he spend in retirement? How should he handle sequence of returns risk if he gets a bad lineup of a bad market going into retirement? Those are serious, very important retirement questions that need to be answered.
Right.
And you just need something to do. Mm-hmm. Netflix doesn't cut it.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. That's going to be key for me, is having a plan.
Yeah, so I think I would develop that before I pull the trigger on this. But the question you called here for is mathematically, this is a no-brainer.
Okay.
It's 2x of a no-brainer.
Right. Okay. That's good.
Yeah. You're in great shape. Sit down with your financial coach or your financial advisor and talk about how you can draw $200K off of this and make sure it's invested in something that's averaging what the market's averaging, and you'll be just fine.
Mm-hmm. So I do like what Dave said there about working with a financial planner. For Steve, I think especially on just the projections for his retirement, it's going to be important. Somebody to maybe help him walk through those, especially those early years of retirement, especially if it's a bad market that he retires into. Look for a fee-only fiduciary investment advisor. A CFP professional is usually a great pick as well. Let's go ahead and jump into the financial planning software and see what exactly we can model for Steve. All right, here we are in our financial planning software. We have Steve sample from the clip. So a little bit about Steve. He is 62, he's single, he wants to retire at 65, but we're going to test him retiring right now at 62 because we think that he can. We have life expectancy at 95. For his net worth, he said he had some IRAs and some 401ks. So we put a rollover IRA at 1.5 million, a traditional 401k at 2 million. We have his house, which is completely paid off. Say it's worth 500,000. So his net worth is sitting around $4 million. For the income, we have that $175,000 salary. Social Security, we have starting at age 70, which is the furthest you can delay it at $48,000 a year. We can change that around, but we're trying to isolate some variables as well here. For expenses and taxes, so current expenses, we have $95,000 a year. For retirement, we have $120,000 a year. That's one of the biggest things we're going to test here is, what about if you did $140,000, $150,000, $200,000 in spending a year? How does that look? And then some other expenses here. He's got post-65 healthcare. So once he's on, Medicare, he's looking about $12,000 a year. Before Medicare, he's got $20,000 a year to pay. Federal taxes, Form 1040. State taxes, he was in North Carolina. Nothing crazy there at all. And then lastly here we have savings and contributions. So, roughly how much is he contributing to his current 401k, things like that. I have him maxing it out. One quick note, Dave mentioned earlier in the video that he would earn a 10% return. I'm dialing that back to a 7% return per year because in all reality, most retirees are not running a 100% equity portfolio going into retirement, especially if he's already a bit worried about things like sequence of returns risk. So I'm dialing it down to 7%, which is still set up as an aggressive portfolio. Definitely going to be mostly equities. I believe our split is 70% stocks and 30% bonds. All right, so here we are at Steve's Monte Carlo summary, and this is for if he's going to retire at age 65. So if he waits 3 more years to retire, let's take a look at the probability of success. Right now it's showing 90%. And if you don't already, Monte Carlo runs 1,000 simulated trials based off historical market returns. So some really good returns, some really bad returns, a sideways market, and it tells you what percent of the time did the plan have money left over at the end. So 90% of the time, if he retires at age 65, he can retire with money in the plan, which is a very high and good number, especially since we're not making any adjustments. This is very good, and it's no doubt that he could retire at age 65 if you wanted to wait. The better question is, if he retires today at 62, how much can he actually spend? Let's go check that out. So now looking at retiring at 62 with spending $120,000 per year, the Monte Carlo is going to drop down a little bit, of course, down to 80% chance probability of success. And I think the most interesting part here about this is that, his median percentile return on that Monte Carlo comes out to about $4 million left in portfolio assets. And so you might be wondering, how does he still have $4 million left over after all that time? Well, if you think about it, the portfolio is going to help bridge him all the way to age 70 for Social Security. Social Security is going to kick in and help, fund, his lifestyle a considerable amount. The big issue is for him at age 75, when those RMDs start coming out, the tax hit that he's going to be taking from that. And really it's about the excess money that he has from those RMDs coming out. That's his biggest problem right now. And so what I would do as a planner is I'd say, I'm very comfortable with you spending, $120,000 and retiring now. The better question is, how much exactly can you spend if we keep, turning up the dial? So let's go ahead and test that out. So I've built out 4 different amounts that, Steve could try to spend in retirement from 135K, 150K, 175K, and then $200,000. And let's go ahead and look at the Monte Carlo summary for each of those, starting with 135K. And as you can see, that's going to drop that down to a 71% chance of success. And then for the 150K, drops it down to 63%. 175K, drops it down to 45%. So now we're in that, that coin flip territory. And then lastly, at $200,000 per year in spending, we are looking at a 31% chance of probability of success. So, earlier, I don't know if Dave actually mentioned this or who was saying it, but I wouldn't just go blindly spending $200,000 because that is a very risky thing to do, especially considering, if you do get a bad market return and things like that. So just basically looking at what I've seen here, I would probably, be more comfortable with around $135,000. But again, even at $135,000 spend, the question is, what if you get a bad market return, right? So let's go ahead and test that out. All right, so we're back at that $120,000 baseline spending, and we're gonna do something deliberately unfair here. So we're gonna model out a market similar in spirit to 2000 to 2002, which is basically he's going to earn a negative 10% return for the first 3 years of retirement. So this is exactly what he's worried about, a bad sequence of returns and a pretty poor market. Now, of course, the Monte Carlo summary is already figuring that in those 1,000 trials based off all those different markets, but this is going to start it right at retirement. And let's go ahead and see what exactly that does to these plans. So the $120,000 baseline spend, if we turn that on, let's see here, that's going to drop it down to 37%. If he was spending $135,000, that drops it down to 22%. If we drop it down to $150,000 or increase that spending, that drops it down to 12%. And then as you can imagine, $175,000 is going to drop it down all the way down to 3%. And lastly, if he was at $200,000 in spending, there is a 0% chance that this plan would work. So what can Steve do? He's just retiring at 62. He gets a really bad market. The Monte Carlo showing a 12% chance of success. What can this guy do? So let's go ahead and check that out. So if we go ahead and do the same plan here, retiring at 62, 150K spend, if we make one adjustment, and that adjustment is a flexible spending, pre-planned, his chance of success is nearly going to triple based off that one lever. So if we do get that really bad market and he brings back that spending, it's going to jump up all the way to 31%. Now, is 31% a high chance or a good plan? No. I'm intentionally isolating one lever here to show how impactful just that one technique is. Again, it's just one lever, so there's going to be other things we would realistically do as a planner to make sure that Steve has a much higher chance of a successful plan, such as, Social Security adjustments, he's got his house, we're gonna have maybe a cash bucket to spend from, so we're not taking it out of stocks. There's a lot of different things and different levers that we would pull, but just isolating this one change in that spending is gonna increase the odds nearly by 3 times. That's pretty good. So if I was talking to Steve, I would say it's very reasonable for you to retire right now at age 62 and not to wait till you're 65. And at the same time, I would start around $135,000 in spending. And it's not because it's, a magic safe number, but it doesn't push the plan like $150,000 does. And I would also say, we need to have some rules ahead of time where if we do get a bad sequence of return, what exactly we're going to do in the spending cuts to make sure that the plan survives in the long term. After building this, we can see that Steve's biggest risk is not dying broke. Really, his biggest risk is spending his healthiest retirement years behind a desk after he spent so many years accumulating. But there is one more big problem hiding in that $3.5 million, and it's that the money is all pre-tax. So when he takes that money out, it's all taxable income. And at the age of 75, the government is going to force him to take out the money, and that is a 6-figure planning opportunity. So if you would like to see me do a Roth conversion video for Steve, subscribe and let me know in the comments. And if you're somebody who's interested in working with us at Pira Wealth Management, please check out our website, pirawealth.com. Drop a message and I'll be happy to personally reply to you and help you guide you through your financial journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.